Hi, and welcome to CIO News. I'm Khushbu, Soni, your host for the broadcast and the chief editor at CIO News. This is an exclusive fireside chat powered by Tata Communications, and it is a recorded session will be available on our website, that is cionews.co.in, and our CIO News LinkedIn handle. It gives me an immense pleasure in introducing our guest for today. He is Ambuj Bhalla, the Director IT Security and the Chief Information Security Officer at IndiGo. Ambuj has 12 plus years of rich experience working with various brands like Reserve Bank of IT, Bharti Airtel, and IndiGo. Um, Ambuj is a cybersecurity operations leader responsible for design, implementation, and management of entire cybersecurity operations for various organizations in his journey. Um, Ambuj is currently heading the entire cybersecurity practice for IndiGo. Ambuj, it's an absolute pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Khushbu. I think I have to also thank you for having me to giving my thoughts around the discussion actually today that we have planned.
Great. I'm sure our viewers are going to get very good insights. So really looking forward to this. Ambuj, I'm also accompanied by Soubhanick Routh. He is the general manager and regional business head for business solutions at Tata Communication. Soubhanick has extensive 19 years plus years of experience and the domain knowledge in diversified fields of data sciences, data center, cloud technologies, private, public, hybrid, cyber and cloud security, enterprise voice and unified communications as well. Soubhanick, pleasure to have you.
Thanks, and pleasure for me also for having me on the board. And thanks to you and Ambuj. It's a pleasure to have a sharing of the thoughts in next 1 hour. Thank you. Thanks, Khushbu.
Thank you, Soubhanick.
Awesome. So I'd like to begin with our first question, Ambuj, for you. With the consequences of pandemic, what long-lasting network projects you are currently undertaking or planning to undertake because of the changed network topology with significant user base and customer base becoming more remote?
I think I would rather say that this journey of evolving our network topology into the evolving world of hypercloud environment. I think we had started way back when this pandemic happened, and I think we consumed it to our benefit when with this we were like we were forced to work remotely actually, right? So I think there is a very heavy adoption of multi-cloud environments that I see because of the pandemic, and enterprises are evolving their basically the networks to basically they're evolving their networks into a basic SASE based architecture, I would rather call it, because it is to converge networks and security experiences to provide a frictionless experience to whether it's a customer or a internal user. And alongside, we also looking forward to this. Also looks forward to implementing strengthening the security policies or the security architecture in that direction. So I think our airport locations, right? So we very categorically we implemented the SDWAN right in time, right? So giving frictionless experience to our staff sitting at airport locations and wanting to have direct access to the systems, the corporate systems, and having direct access to the internet requirements. So for example, backhauling everything to central breakout isn't the need of the hour. So the time when we adopted for Microsoft Office 365 was one big enabler for this, because it required a direct hop for internet, and I think that was I think it has added on to our journey with that perspective actually.
Sure, great. And my next question is, do you or your organization feel that home IT infrastructure, is organization's responsibility or work from home users' responsibility? I mean, is your organization pondering over a model in which, you can ensure SLAs plus billing over work from home users?
I don't think that we have started thinking in that direction right now. I think some of the corporates are already looking at it, but we very categorically have not thought in that direction, right? So what we've been very categorically handling is that, if we can reimburse our users on the broadband requirements at their end, rather than us getting into these corporate wide broadband provisions for our employee base. We've not given a thought to it as yet, but I think organizations are adopting it. Some of the organizations do have corporate plans, and uh, see, the problem out here is that, you know do we really want to get into this space is a bigger problem here, actually, because somebody might be sitting in a tier 5 tier 4 city where you will not be able to meet SLAs, and then how do we handle the end user problems, actually? And that's where we've not very categorically given thought to it, actually.
Sure, agreed. Shavnik, your thoughts on this? Since you also interact with a lot of customers at this space and this segment, so would love to hear your thoughts as well.
Yeah, Khushbu, as Ambuj rightly mentioned, this is a kind of a new take for the industry. Some of the specific industry has started adopting it, who are heavily dependent on the availability of the users on time and the experience, because they are also directly catering to their end customers. And I'm sure Ambuj also has a kind of category of users. They are also into that. So majorly people who are more adopting, who are facing issues in terms of the availability or the SLA, non-availability of the users because of the broadband going down, links are not available, or maybe the quality of the low links are not the optimum as it's supposed to be. So those are the major use cases where the industry are moving very fast into it. But yes, as Ambud mentioning, the enterprises are slowly getting into it. People like IndiGo, where there's the whole number of user bases, they're thinking that yes, whether they should get into that domain or they should actually outsource to it. So some of our customers who are also similarly or a large user base, they thought to outsource everything. And I don't want to get into this kind of the reimbursing or maybe the contracting and all. You manage end to end, you provide the connectivity, and I would be the only the bill to party into that, but the entire management should be done by you. To some extent, it is taking a shape, and probably in next 3 to 6 months it will be measured that how things are shaping up. But yes, the adoption has been started, and a lot of players who are majorly the telco players have also started pitching this as a kind of a service to the many of the enterprises.
Got it. Great. And, also that we discussed, the workforce are moving to these cities, right? Or even chasing growth in such locations. So what has been the growth from tier 2, tier 3 cities or branch connectivity? Would love to hear both of your insights. And do you feel the need to augment the network connectivity there?
If I just, okay, Ambuj, please go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah, thoughts. So go ahead.
Yes, post-COVID, yes, the significance of the network in tier 2, tier 3, actually has gone very high, because people gone back their home. A lot of people are still working from various tier 2, tier 3 cities, which earlier the service provider not very much bothered to connect because the footprint was not that strong. But eventually the significance has started becoming very strong. And that's why everybody into this telco domain or the service provider domain, they started thinking, yes, these are the a very significant area to cover up. And that's how, like all the other service providers, we also have started putting up And in last 3 to 6 months, we have also augmented our capacity and our footprint, and we are trying to take it to up to tier 4 cities also. So that significance has actually come up. And we are assuming that this hybrid model of working probably will prevail for some time. I'll say not sometime, it's for a long time. Probably the overall working model is going to change. So you cannot ignore the significance of the tier 3, tier 4 cities also.
Ambuj, your thoughts as well.
I agree with what Soubhanick has just mentioned actually, and I believe that this is a time for us to capitalize this for augmenting the networks in the tier 2, not in tier 2, tier 3, but tier 4, tier 5 cities as well, right? So there have been instances where you had to make your people work remotely, and the remote task force have gone and sat in their villages and where they've been grappling to get the internet. So it is, I think, very much needed. And there are times to stay where we will have to continue in running hybrid modes. Actually, people will appreciate the organizations allowing them to work from home for I think this could be a longer perspective for an organization also, where they would want their only lean staff to be in office and then they continue to work from their respective places. So I think in today's time also, if I have to motivate an employee, if I offer him a scenario where I tell him, okay, that in a week you go and stay in your home premise and continue to work, and if he is given with these avenues of the where he can come up with the bottlenecks or the network issues and continue to operate with full capacity, I think they'll definitely embrace this change, and even organizations will also appreciate it. I think the productivity is not gone with this agility or remote workforce management, but I would say that it has gone far beyond the levels as it was being done when people were working from their enterprise offices.
Very true. Um, Ambuj, my next question is, how is your organization, as in how IndiGo is adopting innovation to provide these continuity services and coping up with the changing business requirements? What is the future of connectivity as per you and as per IndiGo?
I think us being the national critical infrastructure and to deal with the people and make them travel, I think the adoption of technology and its automation is like the core of our operations actually, right? So if you and I'm sure you would agree the times when this operations are halted, but when these operations are halted, we were not flying, etc. This was the time when we were using it to automate lot many uh, you know aspects of our business, the processes, the customer touch points, the backend operations. And if I were to name a few, so be when it comes to customer interfacing touch points, we enabled web check-ins, right? So you don't have to wait for having your board passes printed and stand in long queues. So giving with frictionless experience to the customers, automating the uh, back tag printings, upscaling. I've also seen, though we have not adopted, but we've also seen, the e-commerce bit has also evolved. So for example, in-flight sales or duty-free products now one can book and they get delivered at your home. So we've not started, but yeah, these are some of the initiatives that have happened in the customer facing side. But the back end, if you look at so many things, if the crew management in itself has been automated. I mean, there's no human touch interface when it comes to planning their movement, their roastering, etc. um, I think various at the backend we have also introduced various AI based, ML based bots, to handle customer notifications and give them a experience, evolve their experience into automating a lot many things actually, their queries, their other such requirements with respect to handling the COVID prerequisites, etc. Um, I think one very big achievement that has happened is on the catering operations, right? So automating this, understanding it and automating it was another backend system that has evolved actually, and this has not only helped to automate, but it has also helped to reduce the perishable or the other food waste that happens on a flight, which also helps us basically capitalize on our cost incurred on that area. And I would also say that these baggage reconciliation systems that we've introduced, so you don't have to now get a bag tag printed and installed uh, by a boarding gate personnel. You can just do it of your own from your own, and just you place it, and this bag reconciliation and the movement entire process is handled via an innovation. So these all aspects, if you look at, this is not concluding here. I'm sure you would know that we've now, the government has now initiated the Digi experience, right? So we're giving frictionless experience. So this all involves use of uh, digitization and networks. You have to monetize all these aspects actually. I would rather say that this is going to increase only, and it will not subside. No matter if we say that we want to go cloud way or a SaaS way, but this aspect is not going to subside by any chance. I believe it that way.
Very true. Wonderful to learn from you the kind of innovations that you have brought in. And personally, IndiGo has always been my favorite go-to airline for all my travels. So yeah, my next question is how are you facilitating direct internet breakout to the cloud, Ambuj? How are you currently managing that?
So as I was explaining, the two aspects that we've very categorically mentioned, so the implementation of SD-WAN. So the when we moved to Microsoft Office 365, it was one of the initiatives that we wanted direct internet dropouts from our airport locations, rather than backhauling to central space as we were I think 3 years back from now. This was one critical bit. And I think the adoption of more and more SaaS-based applications is in another area where I believe that this is helping us a lot when it comes to our business operations.
Awesome. This brings my last questions to both of you. Ambuj, will start with you. What is your thoughts on the future of secure transformation, secure network transformation?
I think people will look towards evolving more and more towards a SASE based frameworks actually, because of the adoption of these enterprises are now cloud based enterprises, right? So the SASE architectures basically are going to grow, and which will converge to giving zero trust access to the corporate environments actually. And the various benefits, one such benefit that we saw was about the implementation of SD-WAN and enabling our optimizing and enabling our airport operations. We see that the lot of increase in efficiency of network and security stuff, because it converges. And business resilience is the other angle and the dimension to it, I would rather call it.
Sure. Great. Soubhanick, your thoughts on this?
I'm very much in line with what Ambuj is talking about, and this is an industry adoption where SASE is the new generation of the integration of convergence of the network and security. because the overall thought is that less your capex and move more into a cloud, whether in terms of network, in terms of your compute, or in terms of security. Because if you see the trend when compute started moving to cloud, you require your network also to change. And that's why the concept of SD-WAN coming, where it helped from moving from traditional network to more like a software-driven network. So you can configure network accordingly. Now it's a time for security also. Security has been the most critical component for an enterprise, and specifically the organizations like IndiGo, where so much of the customer data and the financial data is there. They also need a flexible security, like their compute and the network part. So obviously, SASE is going to be the way for the next generation of transformation. I also feel like what Ambuj mentioned, and we are also aware, they adopted SD-WAN in a very early stage, which is one of the transformation key. And I'm sure they will continue to do so. But yes, SASE probably in the next level of integration, it has to happen. And that's how the concept of zero trust also coming in, where your users are remotely working, where you don't know whether they're the right users or wrong users. So the authentication of the particular user in terms of the device and their credential also become an important. So that's why we all feel, yes, this SASE along with the zero trust, probably the next level of integration along with this SD-WAN part.
It's also, I think, one of, just adding on one more bit to this was that it, while Soubhanick has already mentioned, it reduced the overall complexity and costs to the organization as well.
True.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Wonderful insights, Soubhanick and Ambuj. So I'm sure our viewers will have key takeaways from this. So thank you so much for joining us for this interview and sharing your, Ambuj, sharing your journey and best practices as well with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Khushbu.
Thank you, Khushbu.
Thank you, Soubhanick.